been a lifelong naturalist. My professional life was as an engineer working at Stelco. I worked at Stelco for 32 years. But I've always been interested in nature, first with birds and with nature in general.
You said you've been a lifelong naturalist. I was wondering if you could tell us what exactly is a naturalist and what got you into nature in the first place?
Oh gosh, what got me into nature in the first place? I grew up on a farm. My father was always interested in nature, and that helped. My two brothers, they didn't acquire the same interests as I did. They have an awareness, but not the same inclination. But I've always been interested from the time I was wee. I guess I was first interested in birds, which should be no surprise, and am still interested in birds. But I've always been interested in other things. There was always fish in the creek on the farm, animals, small mammals, all that I was interested in. As I grew older, I kept my interest in birds, but I always kept being pulled into other things. I remember one time birding at Peely. It was a slow day. I went up to St. Clair River, or Lake St. Clair, and noticed a lot of mussel shells on the beach. And I noticed there was quite a few different kinds, and it struck me, I didn't have a clue what they were. And I thought, if I call myself a naturalist, how can that be? So I became interested in mussels and started identifying mussels. And that's just an example. There are other things. Plants, I've always been interested in plants. My father had a particular interest in trees. And it just sort of gradually accumulate interests. I guess the other thing I find is there's sort of old friends. You acquire friends along the way. I grew up with barn swallows in the barn, bobolinks in the hayfield, and they're just old friends. And the older I get, I acquire new friends. Different kinds of birds, different kinds of bugs. And when I see them each year, depending upon what season it is, they sort of bring back old memories. And it's sort of a welcome friend to see through the seasons.
And how would you define a naturalist?
For me, I guess when I hear the word naturalist, I think of succinctly a student of nature. Someone that is interested in what they're seeing in nature, what kind of plant is that, what kind of bird is that, and it can range from somebody that's intensely into it to someone who just is curious in their own backyard. It's simply wanting to know a little more about what you have around you, and it goes from there, and it can go from there to a passionate professional life as a scientist. But generally it's just an interest in the natural world around you and observing it.
And for the young budding naturalists, how do you recommend they get into nature and further be able to understand it?
I suppose my first suggestion would be to find other people that are interested in nature through the Hamilton Naturalist Club, for instance, and spend time out with them. There's nothing like being out in nature to get to know it. Even if you can't find someone, there are new technologies that are good for helping you learn, and one of the ones that I'm a big fan of is iNaturalist. And there's various ways of getting into it. I simply take pictures while I'm out and use a desktop to submit them. You can have it as an app on your phone. You can simply take a picture and submit it, and they use AI for identifying them, giving you suggestions of what it might be. It's not 100% accurate, it's pretty accurate. And you can post the photo on their site, and it allows you access to people professionals or experts, not necessarily professionals, to review your photo and try and identify it for you. You typically register. You can have your own page on iNaturalist and accumulate your sightings and a list of the species that you've taken pictures of. It's started out as simply as a student's project in the States, and it has grown to international status. There's been millions and millions of sightings, hundreds of thousands of people submitted there's postings everywhere from Siberia to Tibet to Antarctica to the Arctic, the middle of Sahara Desert. Anywhere you could imagine, people have posted pictures of plants or animals or fungi on iNaturalist, and if the picture is appropriate, it can be identified. Now, you can't always have it identified. Sometimes you need special photos or something that a photo can't illustrate to have it identified. But for the majority of things, you can have it closely, usually to family or to some level of accuracy. But it's a way of helping you identify things and getting to know things and learn things. At the same time, all of these are accumulated, all these postings are accumulated and add to a huge database that can be and is being used by scientists, professional and amateur, for research. And it's led to recognizing new species in areas. There's been new species recognized for Ontario based on iNaturalist postings. And it's better or worse for identifying invasives as well. So, but I recommend it as an easy tool, and you can do it as much or as little as you want. If you just see a bug in your backyard you're curious about, or a plant in your front yard, you can take a picture, submit it, and if that's all you do, you may find it useful to find out what you got.
And one final question. I was wondering if you had any cool nature stories you could share with us today.
Well, there's probably a few of them, but one I like to tell in regards to birding. My wife Anna Marie and I were out years ago birding. We were looking for a rare warbler, and it was a big magnolia warbler day, and we were seeing dozens of them. And I thought I saw the warbler we were looking for, and I turned to her and said, "No, it's just a magnolia." And we sort of looked at each other, and just a magnolia? It's a magnificent bird. How can we say just a magnolia? And it came to be, as I said, a four-letter word. It doesn't matter what kind of species it is. It isn't just a robin. It isn't just a red-winged blackbird. They're all magnificent. And it's everywhere you go. It's just, there's nothing just about it.
And is there any final words you'd like to share with us today?
Well, I suppose on a personal note, and how my approach to nature or my attitude to nature has changed, I've come to feel that I'm part of nature, that nature's part of me, and that we as a society have to recognize that we're not separate from it, we're part of it. I think we're beginning to understand that, but we have a long ways to go. And that's part of the importance of being a naturalist, is beginning to understand where we are as part of this bigger world.